Ashley was cleaning the living room floor when she heard screams from upstairs. It was a typical Tuesday morning at the millionaire businessman's mansion, but something about those screams made her drop everything. "Dad! Dad! Where are you?" The voice belonged to 8-year-old Ethan. Ashley knew that voice well, but she had never heard him scream with such desperation. She ran up the marble stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. She found Ethan in the hallway, standing in front of his father's room. The boy's face was as red as a pepper, and he swayed from side to side as if he would fall at any moment. "Ethan, what's happening, sweetie?" The boy turned to her with glazed eyes, as if he didn't recognize her at first. "Aunt Jess, I'm feeling sick. Where's my dad?" Before she could answer, Ethan closed his eyes and collapsed. Ashley ran, but couldn't reach him in time. The boy rolled down the stairs, hitting his head on the cold marble. When she reached the bottom, Ethan was lying on the floor, motionless. A patch of blood was beginning to form under his head. Ashley knelt and touched the boy's forehead. It was burning with fever. "My God, what do I do now? Your dad isn't here." Ashley grabbed the phone with trembling hands and dialed for an ambulance. "Hello, emergency services. I need an ambulance urgently. A child fell down the stairs and is unconscious." The voice on the other end of the line sounded tired. "Ma'am, unfortunately, we don't have any ambulances available at the moment. There was a serious accident on the highway with several victims. All our teams are at the scene, but this is an emergency. It's a child." "I understand, but it will take at least 2 hours until we can send someone." Ashley hung up the phone and immediately called Mark's cell phone. "The number you dialed is out of the service area. Please try again later." She tried 2 more times. Nothing. Mark had left early for an important meeting in another city and said he wouldn't be back until the end of the day. Ethan began to convulse in her arms. His small body trembled all over, and he mumbled nonsense. "Mom, Mom, where are you, Mom?" Ashley knew he was calling for his mother, who had died 3 years ago. The boy barely remembered her, but when he was sick or scared, he always called for her. It was then that Ashley looked at the living room side table and saw the keys to the shiny red sports car on the furniture. Mark was very careful with that car. He didn't even let his driver drive it, but at that moment, she didn't think twice. "Forgive me, Mark, but I need to save your son." She grabbed the keys, picked Ethan up, and ran to the garage. The boy weighed more than she imagined, but the adrenaline gave her strength. Ashley put Ethan in the back seat of the car and buckled him in. Her hands trembled so much that she could barely insert the key into the ignition. She knew how to drive. She had learned a few years ago in her ex-boyfriend's old sedan, but she had never driven a powerful and expensive car like that. When she stepped on the accelerator, the car lurched, almost throwing her into the back seat. "Calm down, Ashley, calm down. You can do this." She drove out of the garage slowly, but as soon as she reached the street, she floored it. The car flew, and she gripped the steering wheel tightly. "My God, help me. Don't let this boy die. Please give me strength to get to the hospital." Ethan was too quiet in the back seat. Ashley looked in the rearview mirror every 2 seconds, afraid he had stopped breathing. On the first curve, she almost hit a pole. The car was very different from what she knew, more sensitive, faster, but little by little she got the hang of it. "Hang in there, Ethan. Aunt Jess is going to take you to the hospital. You're going to be fine." 20 minutes later, she screeched to a halt at the emergency room entrance. She picked up Ethan and ran to the reception desk. "Please, help! He fell down the stairs and is unconscious." 2 nurses came running with a stretcher. A young doctor appeared right behind them. "What happened?" "He fainted from fever and fell down the stairs about 20 minutes ago." The doctor touched Ethan's forehead and frowned. "Severe febrile seizure, critical condition. Take him to bed 3 now." Ashley stood in the hallway watching them take Ethan inside. It was only then that she realized tears were streaming down her face. If she had delayed longer, it could have been very serious. 40 minutes later, Mark arrived at the hospital like a hurricane. He was leaving the highway when he got cell service and saw the missed calls from home. He had taken an alternate route to avoid traffic and driven like a madman to get there. When he saw Ashley sitting in the reception chair, her clothes wrinkled and her face red from crying, he ran to her. "Ashley, how's Ethan?" "What happened, Mark?" "He fainted from fever and fell down the stairs. He's hospitalized. But the doctor said he'll be fine." Mark breathed a sigh of relief for a second, but then it dawned on him. "Wait, how did you bring him here? Where's the car?" Ashley lowered her head. I took your sports car. There was no ambulance. Your cell phone was out of service." "You took my sports car without permission?" Everyone in the hospital stopped to stare. Ashley got up from the chair, startled. "Mark, I can explain." "Explain what? You had no right. You could have crashed the car." "I'm sorry. But your son was dying. I tried everything." "You're just an employee. You can't make decisions about my son." The hospital receptionist stood up. "Sir, please, lower your voice. This is a hospital." Mark ran his hand through his hair, breathing heavily. He was nervous, scared, and ended up taking it all out on Ashley. The truth was, he was terrified of losing his son, just as he had lost his wife. "Where is he? Can I see him?" "The doctor will speak with you now." At that moment, the doctor who had treated Ethan appeared in the hallway, taking off his gloves. "Mr. Mark Johnson, it's me. How's my son?" The doctor looked at Ashley and then at Mark. "Your son had a severe febrile seizure caused by an infection. He's stable now, but he arrived at the right time. If he had delayed longer, the risks would have been much greater." Mark felt his legs weaken. "Risks? Yes. This young woman here did the right thing. She saved your boy." Mark looked at Ashley, who had lowered her head and was wiping away tears with her sleeve. I'm sorry, Ashley. I was desperate." "Your son will be hospitalized today for observation, but there's nothing serious. Do you want to see him?" Mark nodded. "Yes," and the three went to the room. Ethan was awake, but still a little weak. When he saw Ashley, he smiled. "Aunt Jess, you came?" "Hi, sweetie, how are you?" "Much better. The doctor said you brought me here in Dad's car." Ethan held out his little hand to her. "You saved me, didn't you, Auntie?" "Like an angel." "Oh, it was nothing." "Yes, it was. Dad thanked you." Mark stood at the door, watching the scene. For the first time in 3 years, since his wife had died, he felt something different in his chest. It was as if a door that had been locked for a long time had opened a little. Ashley cared for Ethan with a tenderness he had never seen in anyone. It was truly natural, like a mother would care for him. "Dad, come here." Mark approached the bed. Ethan took his hand and Ashley's hand and joined them. "There, now everyone's together." Mark looked into Ashley's eyes. She was a simple, hard-working woman who had risked her own job to save his son, and he had yelled at her, treated her badly. "Ashley, how can I thank you?" She smiled, her eyes still red. "You don't need to thank me. Anyone would do the same." "No, you did what a mother would do." It was the first time Mark had said those words since his wife had died, and it was the first time he had looked at a woman and felt he could trust her completely. Ethan fell asleep, holding both their hands. Mark and Ashley stayed there in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Neither of them knew that this was just the beginning of a story that would change their lives forever. 3 days after Ethan was discharged, Mark called Ashley into the mansion's office. She entered nervously, thinking she was going to be fired because of the car. "Sit down, Ashley. I need to talk to you." She sat on the edge of the chair, her hands sweating. "Look, I know I yelled at you at the hospital. I shouldn't have done that." "It's okay, Mark. You were worried about Ethan." "No, it's not okay. You saved my son, and I treated you badly." Mark opened a drawer and took out an envelope. "I want to increase your salary. It's the least I can do." Ashley opened the envelope, and her eyes widened. It was double what she earned. "Mark, that's too much money. You deserve much more than that. Ethan can't stop talking about you." It was true. Since he had returned from the hospital, Ethan had clung to Ashley all the time. He asked her to help with homework, read him stories, and play in the backyard. The boy was happier than Mark had seen him in years. "Tell me why you dropped out of college." Ashley sighed. "My mother became diabetic and needed expensive medication. It was just her and me, you know? I couldn't afford college and the medication at the same time." "What course were you taking?" "Education. I always dreamed of teaching." "Little ones?" Mark observed her. Ashley spoke of lost dreams without bitterness, only with a gentle sadness. She had an immense heart, he already knew that, but she was also intelligent, dedicated. "You have a special gift with children. Ethan is happier than I ever imagined possible." As he said this, his fingers slipped and touched her hand on the table. It was just a second, but they both felt a strange electricity run up their arms. Ashley quickly pulled her hand away, blushing. "I need to get back to work." Mark stood there, looking at the hand that had touched hers. What was that? On the same day, Dr. Patricia arrived at the mansion for Ethan's monthly checkup. She was an elegant 34-year-old woman, always dressed in expensive clothes and perfect makeup. She had a cold but professional demeanor. "Hi, Ethan. How are you, champ?" "Hi, Dr. Patricia. I'm great. Aunt Jess took really good care of me at the hospital." Patricia forced a smile. "That's good, dear. Where's your father?" "He's talking to Aunt Jess in the office." Patricia felt a pang in her stomach. In the 3 years she had treated Ethan, Mark barely spoke to the staff. And now he was talking to the housekeeper. She quickly examined Ethan and went down to the office. Through the half-open door, she saw Mark and Ashley talking. The way he looked at the young woman, she knew that look. Patricia waited for Ashley to leave and entered the office. "Mark, I need to talk to you about Ethan." "Of course. He's physically well, but I'm concerned about this excessive closeness with the employee." Mark frowned. "Excessive closeness? Ethan is very attached to her. It could be detrimental to his emotional development." "Patricia, my son is well for the first time in 3 years. After his mother died, he became withdrawn, sad. Now he laughs and plays." "I understand, but you need to be careful. We don't know anything about her past." Mark looked at her strangely. Patricia had never questioned employees before. As Mark walked her to the door, Patricia stopped at her car and looked at the mansion. Her hands trembled with anger on the steering wheel. 3 years. 3 years she had waited for Mark to overcome his grief and realized that she had always been there waiting. 3 years, swallowing the humiliation of being replaced by Camilla in a week. 3 years refusing to date other men, dreaming of the day he would come back to her, and now he was going to fall in love with a housekeeper. This woman is not going to steal what has always been mine. A week later, Ashley was helping Ethan with his math homework in the kitchen when Mark arrived home from work. "Dad, look here. Aunt Jess taught me an easy way to do subtraction." "Oh, really? Show me." Ethan explained the method Ashley had taught him. Mark was impressed by her teaching skills. "You're very good at this. You should have finished your education degree." "Oh, who knows? Maybe someday." "Dad, Aunt Jess could be my private tutor." "That's not a bad idea." Ethan ran off to play in the backyard. Mark and Ashley were left alone in the kitchen. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "How can you be so light-hearted even with all your problems?" Ashley laughed. "Well, life is already hard, right? If we keep dwelling on the bad things, there'll be nothing left. I can't be like that." "Since Camilla died?" "What happened to her?" Mark sighed deeply. It had been a long time since he had talked about that night. "We fought. We fought badly. She left the house driving, nervous in the rain." His voice faltered. "She crashed the car into a tree, died instantly." Ashley approached and put her hand on his shoulder. "It wasn't your fault." "Yes, it was. If I hadn't fought with her." "Mark, accidents happen. You can't blame yourself forever, and most importantly, you can't close yourself off to the world because of it." It was the first time she had called him by his first name, without the Mr., and it was the first time someone had spoken to him about Camilla so directly, without tiptoeing. "You're right. It's just hard to forgive myself. But your son needs you, a dad who smiles, who plays with him." They looked into each other's eyes. Mark slowly approached, as if to kiss her. "Dad, come play with me!" Ethan's shout broke the moment. They moved away, a little embarrassed. "I'd better go help him." "Of course." But as Ashley passed him to leave the kitchen, Mark gently held her arm. "Thank you for everything you've done for us." She just smiled and left. Mark stood there, his heart pounding erratically. In the following 2 weeks, Patricia spent her days investigating Ashley's life. She hired a private detective and discovered poor family, diabetic mother, ex-boyfriend who disappeared, leaving debts, nothing she could use against her. It was then that she remembered Dr. Robert from a local diagnostics lab. They had studied together in college, and she knew he had some serious financial problems. And more importantly, she knew a secret of his that could destroy his career. Patricia arranged to have lunch with him at a discreet restaurant. "Robert, I need a very special favor." "What kind of favor, Patricia?" "It's about a delicate situation involving a family I treat. I need some specific test results." Dr. Robert almost choked on his wine. "You're talking about falsifying exams. That's a crime." "Calm down. It's nothing permanent. It's just to protect a child from someone who could be dangerous." "Patricia, I can't. Remember that internship at the local hospital? When you falsified the hours and I signed as if you had been there?" Dr. Robert turned pale. "If that falsification came to light, he would lose his diploma and everything he had built. What kind of results do you want? Something that shows she shouldn't have contact with children, a transmissible disease. And how will you get her to do the exams?" Patricia smiled coldly. "New family protocol. After the boy's accident, everyone who cares for him needs to have a complete battery of tests." Dr. Robert nervously fiddled with his napkin. "And how will you justify it later when they discover it's fake? Laboratory error. These things happen." He knew he was getting into trouble, but he also knew that Patricia wouldn't hesitate to destroy him if he refused. "Okay, but it's just once." The next day, Patricia showed up at the mansion outside of consultation hours. "Hi, Ashley. Can I talk to you?" "Of course, doctor. Has something happened?" "It's about a new protocol the family adopted after Ethan's accident. Now, everyone who cares for him needs to undergo a complete battery of exams." Ashley was confused. "New protocol? But I feel fine." "Of course you do, dear. It's just prevention. After the scare Ethan gave us, Mark became very concerned about any health risk to his son. But I've worked here for over a year. I've never had to do an exam before." "Exactly. That's why he decided to implement this precaution. Now you know how protective he is of Ethan." Ashley nodded. It made sense considering the fear Mark had experienced. "Where do I do these exams?" "I have a trusted family lab, a diagnostics lab." Patricia handed her a card. "Tell them you're my patient. They already know about the protocol." "Okay, I'll go tomorrow." "Perfect. Oh, and Ashley, it's better not to mention it to Mark for now. He gets very anxious about medical matters. He prefers that I take care of everything and only inform him if there's a problem." After Patricia left, Ashley fiddled with the lab card. Something about that conversation sounded strange. Why hadn't Mark said anything about mandatory exams, and why couldn't she mention it to him? But in the end, she decided the doctor must know what she was doing. At the lab, Dr. Robert personally received Ashley, nervous and sweating. "So, you're Ashley. Dr. Patricia told me about you." "Told you what?" "That you take very good care of the family's boy." Ashley underwent all the exams, blood, urine, general checkup. Dr. Robert made sure she stayed in his office throughout the process, inventing technical excuses. "The results will be ready in a week. Dr. Patricia will pick them up personally." When Ashley left, Dr. Robert looked at her blood tubes. His hands trembled. He had never done anything like this before. A week later, he altered the results in the system. HIV positive, the most devastating result he could invent. When he Patricia went to pick up the reports. She smiled, satisfied. Perfect, Robert, exactly what I needed. Patricia, this will destroy this woman's life. What if she finds out? She won't find out, and even if she does, it will be too late. And when are you going to correct the results? Patricia shrugged. Who said I'm going to correct them? Dr. Robert felt a chill. He had gotten involved with a psychopath. That same afternoon, Patricia called Mark's cell phone. Mark, it's Patricia. I need to talk to you urgently about Ethan's health. What happened? Is he okay? I prefer to talk in person. It's about Ashley's exams. What exams? The new protocol we implemented. Can you come to my office now? Mark felt a knot in his stomach. I'm on my way. In the office, Patricia placed the reports on the table with a serious expression. Mark, sit down. What I'm about to tell you is very serious. For God's sake, Patricia, just tell me. Ashley's exams. She tested positive for HIV. Mark. He felt the world collapse. His legs went weak and he had to lean on the table. This can't be true. She seems so healthy, so... Many carriers are asymptomatic for years, but the problem is that she may have exposed Ethan to risk. Like if she cut herself and her blood came into contact with any of his wounds, no matter how small. A toothbrushing that causes bleeding. A scratch on his knee. Mark was pale, thinking of all the times he had seen Ashley taking care of Ethan's small injuries. My God, what now? You need to remove her from the child immediately, and we'll do tests on Ethan to be sure. Mark ran his hands through his hair, desperate. But how am I going to tell her? How am I going to look her in the face? Don't tell her. It's too embarrassing for everyone. Make up some excuse and fire her. It's safer. But Patricia, I can't just... Mark, do you want to risk your son's life for embarrassment? You already lost your wife. Do you want to lose your son too? The mention of Camilla was like a stab. Mark closed his eyes, remembering the despair he felt when he almost lost Ethan in the accident. You're right. Ethan's safety comes first. Mark left the office completely dazed. How was he going to look at Ashley knowing this? How was he going to explain to Ethan that the person he loved most in the world would have to leave, and the worst part? How was he going to deal with the fact that he was falling in love with her just now? The next morning, Mark couldn't even eat breakfast. He had spent the whole night thinking about how he was going to talk to Ashley, how he was going to look her in the eyes, knowing what he knew. He called her into the office as soon as she arrived. Ashley entered smiling, as always. Good morning, Mark. Ethan is already down for breakfast. Ashley, sit down. I need to tell you something. His tone was different, serious, distant. Ashley felt her stomach tighten. Look, this isn't easy to say, but Mark couldn't look at her. I'm going to have to let you go. Ashley's world collapsed. Let me go, but why? Did I do something wrong? No, it's not that. It's just that I need to cut costs. The company isn't doing very well lately. Ashley frowned. It didn't make sense. Last week he had increased her salary, saying she deserved much more. Mark, if it's a matter of money, I'll accept working for my old salary or even less. No, Ashley. The decision has already been made. But what about Ethan? He'll be very sad. Mark closed his eyes. This was the hardest part. He'll understand, it's just temporary. Temporary is when the situation improves, we'll talk again. Ashley tried to hold back her tears, but they began to stream down. Okay, when do you want me to leave? Today would be better. The word came out like a stab. Ashley got up from the chair, trembling. Can I at least say goodbye to Ethan? Mark knew that if she spoke to the boy, he would make a scene. He would ask why she had to leave. It's better not to. It will be harder for him. Ashley nodded, unable to speak, picked up her bag, and left the office. As she passed through the kitchen, she saw the drawing Ethan had made on the refrigerator, the three of them together, like a family. She pulled the drawing off and put it in her bag. It was the only thing she would take from there. At the mansion door, she turned one last time. She saw Ethan at his bedroom window, waving to her, as he always did. Bye, Aunt Jess. See you. Later, Ashley waved back, her heart broken. Ethan didn't know it was a final goodbye. When Ethan came down for lunch and didn't see Ashley, he started asking, "Dad, where's Aunt Jess?" Mark was prepared for that question, but it still hurt to answer. "She had to leave, son." "Leave? Like she's coming back tomorrow?" "No, Ethan. She's not going to work here anymore." The boy stopped chewing. "Why? They're adult things. You wouldn't understand." "But did she do something wrong?" "No, son, she..." "Who didn't? Then why did she leave?" Mark didn't know what to say, how to explain to an 8-year-old that the person he loved most could be dangerous. Sometimes people need to go their own ways. Ethan pushed his plate away. "I'm not hungry." "Son, you need to eat. I want Aunt Jess back. She can't come back." "Why?" "Because she can't." Ethan left the table crying and ran to his room. Mark stood there looking at the untouched food on his son's plate. In the following days, the house became a graveyard. Ethan barely spoke, didn't want to play, pushed food around on his plate. Every time he asked when Aunt Jess would come back. Meanwhile, Ashley had found work at a cleaning company, but the salary was miserable. It barely covered her mother's medication. She spent her nights looking at Ethan's drawing and crying. She didn't understand what had happened. Everything was going so well. Mark was different with her, more affectionate, and suddenly, out of nowhere, he fired her. "Mom, did I do something wrong?" "These rich people are like that, daughter. They use us and then throw us away." But Ashley couldn't accept that explanation. The Mark she knew wasn't like that. A month after Ashley left, Ethan was unrecognizable. The cheerful, playful boy had disappeared. In his place was a sad, thin child who spent all day in his room. Mark tried to hire another nanny, but Ethan rejected everyone. He screamed, cried, and asked for Aunt Jess. "I don't want another nanny. I want my Aunt Jess." "Ethan, she can't come back." "Why not? I was good. I didn't do anything wrong." Mark felt heartbroken seeing his son like that. Ethan was losing weight, had dark circles under his eyes, and no longer smiled. He started having nightmares and wetting the bed again. At school, the teacher called Mark for a meeting. "Mr. Mark, Ethan isn't well. He's alone all the time, doesn't play with other children, doesn't do activities. Yesterday, he even fought with a classmate for no reason. He's gone through a change at home." "What kind of change?" "Someone important to him had to leave." "I understand. Have you considered psychological support?" Mark nodded. Maybe it was a good idea, but deep down he knew what the problem was. Ethan wanted Ashley back, and worse, he wanted her too, even though he knew he couldn't. On the other side of town, Ashley wasn't doing well either. Her new job was hard, her boss was rude, and she earned so little that she had to choose between buying food or medicine for her mother. But what hurt most was missing Ethan and Mark too, if she was honest with herself. 6 weeks after Ashley's dismissal, Ethan fainted at school during recess. The teacher called Mark, desperate. "Mr. Mark, Ethan fainted. We're going to the hospital." Mark dropped everything and ran to the hospital. When he arrived, Ethan was being examined by a doctor. "How is he, doctor?" "Physically, there's nothing serious, but he's showing signs of severe grief reaction. Weight loss, lack of appetite, behavioral regression." "Grief reaction, but no one died." For a child, sometimes a separation can be as traumatic as a death, especially if they became very attached to the person. Mark swallowed hard. "And what's the treatment?" "First, we need to understand what caused this. Is this person still alive?" "Yes." "Then, ideally, she should return to his life if possible." Mark felt a pang in his chest. How to explain that the person who could heal his son might be the very person who could harm him? "Doctor, what if this person poses some risk to him?" "What kind of risk?" The doctor frowned. "If it's a medical issue, we can evaluate and take precautions. But letting a child waste away like this is also a risk." That night, sitting by Ethan's bed in the hospital, Mark called Patricia. "Have Ethan's test results come back?" "Not yet. Those kinds of tests take time." "Patricia, he's hospitalized. Grief reaction because of Ashley." Mark, I know it's difficult, but you did the right thing. What if his tests come back negative? What if she didn't pass anything on to him? Even so, it was a risk you couldn't take. But Mark was no longer so sure. At the hospital, Robert, the nurse who was Ashley's friend, was working the night shift when he recognized Ethan, admitted. He remembered the boy. It was the kid Ashley had brought in a few months ago with a febrile seizure. At the time, she said she worked at the family's house. Robert was curious. Ashley had come for some routine exams last week and mentioned that she was unemployed, working at a cleaning company. During the night, he went to talk to Mark. "Excuse me for disturbing you, but you're the boy's father whom Ashley brought here some time ago?" Mark was surprised. "You know Ashley? I've known her for years. She does follow-ups for her diabetic mother here at the hospital. A very good, very responsible young woman. She doesn't work for us anymore." "Oh, that's a shame. She always spoke highly of you, especially the boy." Robert noticed Mark's strange expression. "Can I ask why she left?" Mark hesitated. "Personal reasons." "Oh, I see. It's just that she had some routine exams here last week and everything was normal. She mentioned she missed the boy." Mark felt a stab of doubt. "What kind of exams?" "The basic ones. Blood count, glucose, the usual. She does them every year. And everything was normal." "Everything? Why?" "No, it's nothing." But Mark couldn't get it out of his head. If Ashley had taken exams last week and everything was normal, how did Patricia have different results? He grabbed his cell phone and sent a message to Patricia. "I need to see Ashley's exams again." The answer came quickly. "Why? Don't dwell on this. I just want to check something." "Okay, you can come by the office tomorrow." But Robert had planted a seed of doubt in Mark's mind, and that seed began to grow. The next day, Mark went to Patricia's office to get the exams. She handed him the papers with a serious expression. "Remember, we talked about not dwelling on this." Mark analyzed the reports. Everything seemed normal, official, but something bothered him. "Patricia, can I ask you something? Are you sure these exams are Ashley's?" "What do you mean?" "It's just that the nurse at the hospital said she had exams last week and everything was normal." Patricia tensed. "Mark, she might have had different exams, or she might have lied to him." "She might. But look here." Mark pointed to the paper. "This lab code, it looks strange. I've never seen a format like this. Each lab has its own standard, and this date here, it was processed in the middle of the night." "Do labs operate in the middle of the night?" Patricia was getting nervous. "Some have 24-hour shifts. Mark, you're looking for problems where there are none." "Maybe, but do you mind if I take it to another doctor for a look?" "Why?" "The result is clear there. Just to be absolutely sure." Before what?" "Before I accept that I destroyed the life of an innocent person." Patricia realized she was losing control of the situation. "Mark, you're being paranoid. Trust me." But Mark was no longer trusting her. For the first time in 3 years, he was questioning Patricia. "I'll show it to another doctor. If everything's okay, I'll apologize." Mark left the office with the exams in his hand. On his way home, he stopped at Dr. Smith's office, where he always had his exams. "Done. Dr. Smith, can you take a look at these results? I'd like your opinion." The doctor quickly analyzed the reports. Which lab did these exams?" "A diagnostics lab." "I don't know it, but I can tell you one thing. There are some inconsistencies here." "Like what?" "Look, this code doesn't follow the national standard, and this formatting seems a bit improvised." Mark felt his blood run cold. "Doctor, in your opinion, are these results reliable?" "I wouldn't sign off on them. If it were my patient, I'd ask for them to be repeated elsewhere." Mark left the office with a growing certainty in his chest. Patricia had lied to him. The question was, why? Mark returned to Patricia's office without warning. He found her attending a patient. "Patricia, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "Mark, I'm with a patient. It's about the exams." His tone startled her. She apologized to the patient and postponed the appointment. "What's going on?" "I showed the exams to Dr. Smith. He said, "They're not reliable." Patricia tried to maintain her composure, but Mark saw the nervousness in her eyes. "What do you mean, not reliable? The code is wrong. The formatting is improvised." "Mark, every lab—" "No, Patricia, stop lying to me." She turned pale. "I'm not lying." "Yes, you are, and I want to know why." Mark approached her, his eyes serious. "Patricia, I trusted you. I fired an innocent person because I trusted you. She's not innocent." "How do you know? You don't even know her." "Well, I know that. You know what? Tell me the truth." Patricia was cornered. Mark had never spoken to her like that. "The truth is, she's not good for you." "That's not your decision." "It should be. I've loved you for years, Mark. Years." The mask finally fell. Mark recoiled, startled. "Patricia, don't you see she's going to use you, that she just wants your money? You falsified the exams." "I protected you." "You falsified the exams." His shout echoed through the office. Patricia realized she had said too much. "I did what I had to do." Mark grabbed his phone and called the police. "Hello, I want to report falsification of medical documents." "Hang up that phone!" Patricia tried to grab Mark's phone, but it was too late. He had already given the address to the police. "Why did you do this, Patricia?" "Because I love you." She exploded like a bomb. All the venom she had held for 3 years came out at once. "I loved you before her. I was with you first." "Patricia, calm down. 3 years. 3 years I waited for you to get over your grief." Mark tried to approach, but she was out of control. "I refused other men because of you. I lived like an idiot, dreaming that you would come back to me. That doesn't justify it." And then a housekeeper appears, a simple housekeeper, and you fall in love with her in 2 weeks. Other doctors in the building began to approach to see what was happening. "She doesn't deserve you. She's poor, uneducated. I'm a doctor. I have money." "Patricia, stop it." "Then yes, I falsified the exams, and I would do it again." Mark grabbed his phone and started recording. "Because that woman won't steal what's mine." The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia realized what she had said and looked around. There were at least 5 doctors there, all in shock. I didn't mean to say that," but it was too late. She had confessed everything in front of witnesses. "Thank you for the confession, Patricia." Mark stopped recording and showed her the phone. "Now the police will have everything they need." Patricia collapsed into the chair, realizing she had lost everything, her career, her reputation, Mark, everything. "Mark, please, I did it for love." "That wasn't love, Patricia. It was obsession, and it almost destroyed a family." 15 minutes later, the police arrived. Patricia was arrested for falsifying medical documents and practicing without a license. But Mark didn't feel relief. He felt a huge weight on his chest. How was he going to fix the damage he had done to Ashley's life? How was he going to look at his son and explain that he had pushed away the only person who made him happy because of a lie? And most importantly, would Ashley ever be able to forgive him? The day after Patricia's arrest, Mark left home like a man on a mission. He had spent the entire night thinking about how he would find Ashley and ask for forgiveness. Ethan remained hospitalized, but at least he was stable. The doctor had said the boy would only get better when the emotional issue was resolved. Mark drove all over the city until he found the building where Ashley now worked. It was an old commercial building downtown with several small businesses. He went up the elevator looking for the cleaning company. On the 5th floor, he found a small sign, "Total Cleaning General Services." He went in and asked for Ashley at the reception. "She's cleaning the 8th floor bathroom," said the receptionist, without even looking up from her phone. Mark walked up the stairs, nervous. What would he say? How would he explain everything? He found Ashley on her knees on the floor, scrubbing the dirty bathroom floor. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she was wearing a simple company uniform. When she looked up and saw Mark standing at the door, she almost dropped the bucket of water. "Mark?" Hi, Ashley. She quickly stood up, wiping her hands on her clothes. What? What are you doing? Here. I came to ask for your forgiveness. Ashley frowned. Forgiveness for what? Mark took a deep breath. Because I made a terrible mistake. Because I believed a lie and fired you unfairly. A lie? What lie? The exams Patricia showed were fake. She made everything up. Ashley was speechless for a moment. Fake? But what exams? Mark realized she didn't even know what she was being accused of. Patricia said that you had a disease and could pass it on to Ethan. What disease? HIV. Ashley felt her legs weaken and leaned against the wall. She says I have HIV? She had falsified exams, that's why I fired you. My God, and you believed her? Her voice was trembling with emotion. Ashley, you believed I would hide something like that? That I would put Ethan at risk? Mark saw tears starting to stream down her face. I was scared of losing my son. And me? Did you think about me? Do you know what I've been through these past few weeks? I know I have. No excuse. You really don't. Ashley was crying, but it was a mixture of sadness and anger. You humiliated me, threw me away like trash without even giving me a chance to defend myself. Ashley, please. And Ethan? How is he? Mark lowered his head. Bad, very bad. He's hospitalized. Hospitalized. Depression. Because of you. He only talks about you. Ashley put her hand to her chest. My God, my boy. Ashley, I know I don't deserve it, but at least go see him. He needs you. Just to see him. I'm not asking for anything more than that. Ashley was pensive for a moment. Where is he? St. John's Hospital, room 302. Okay, but I don't promise to forgive you that easily. I understand, that's all I can ask for. On the way to the hospital, Mark told her everything. How Patricia had falsified the exams, how she confessed everything, how she was arrested. Why did she do that? Because she's been obsessed with me for years. She couldn't accept that I might be interested in you. Ashley looked at him. Interested? Mark stopped the car at a traffic light and looked at her. More than interested? Much more. Mark, but we don't need to talk about that now. Let's just focus on Ethan. They arrived at the hospital. Ashley was nervous. What if he doesn't want to see me? What if he's angry at me for disappearing? Trust me, he just wants you back. When Ashley opened the door to room 312, Ethan was asleep. He was thinner, paler, but still the boy she loved like a son. She approached the bed slowly and sat in the chair beside it. Mark stood at the door watching. Ethan opened his eyes and saw Ashley. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Aunt Jess. Hi, my love. You're back. You really came back. Ethan threw himself into her arms, crying with happiness. I thought you had abandoned me. Never, my dear. I would never abandon you. Why did you disappear? I was so sad. Ashley looked at Mark, who approached the bed. Son, there was a misunderstanding. Someone lied about Aunt Jess, and I believed them. Lied about what? Said she was sick and could harm you. But Aunt Jess would never harm me. I know, son. I know now. Ethan looked at Ashley. Are you sick, Aunt Jess? No, my love. I'm fine. It was all a lie. Then you can come back home. Ashley hesitated. We still need to talk about that. But I want you to come back. I want us to be a family again. In the following weeks, Ashley returned to work at the mansion, but things weren't the same. She cared for Ethan with the same affection as always, but kept her distance from Mark. Ethan was discharged from the hospital and slowly returned to normal. He started eating again, playing and smiling, but he noticed that something was different between the adults. Aunt Jess, why don't you talk to Dad anymore? We do talk, sweetie, just not like before. Before, you used to laugh together. Ashley sighed. Sometimes adults need time to sort things out. How much time? I don't know yet. Mark tried to approach slowly. He came home earlier from work, helped with Ethan's homework and had dinner with them. But Ashley was polite, yet distant. Ashley, can we talk? About what? About us. About what happened. There's not much to talk about. You didn't trust me, that's it. But I want to explain, Mark. I understand your reasons. You were scared. You wanted to protect your son, but that doesn't change the fact that it hurt. And how can I fix it? I don't know. Maybe it can't be fixed. Maybe we can only be co-workers. But Mark wasn't going to give up. He started doing small things, leaving flowers in her room, paying for her education degree so she could go back to school, bringing her mother to live in the mansion. "Why are you doing all this?" Ashley asked one afternoon. "Because I love you, and because I want to prove that I trust you." "Ashley, you don't have to answer now. Just don't send me away. Let me try to win back your trust." Ashley looked at him for a long moment. "Okay, but it's going to take time. I have all the time in the world." 2 months later, their relationship was better. Ashley was still cautious, but she was already laughing at Mark's jokes. They talked about their day, participated in family moments. One night, after putting Ethan to bed, they stayed up talking in the living room. "You know what I've realized?" Ashley said. "What?" "That you're different. More present with Ethan, more human. Almost losing both of you made me realize a lot." "Like what?" "Like I was living on autopilot, working too much, feeling too little. And now I know that without you, I'm nothing." Ashley was silent. "Mark, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I also fell in love with you before all this happened." "Really? That's why it hurt so much. It wasn't just the dismissal. It was feeling that the person I was loving trusted me." Mark moved closer to her on the sofa. "And now, do you still feel something?" "I do, but I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared you won't trust me again. Scared of building something and seeing it collapse at the first difficulty." "Ashley, look at me." She looked. I learned that trusting is a choice, and I choose to trust you always." "How can I be sure?" "Because I'm here every day trying to prove it, and I'll keep trying for the rest of my life if you let me." Ashley smiled for the first time in months. "Okay, let's try again." But slowly, they kissed. A soft kiss, full of promise and new beginnings. Another month passed. Life at the mansion was harmonious. Ashley went back to studying education. Her mother was well cared for. Ethan was happy. Mark and Ashley were truly dating now. They went out together, talked about everything, made plans for the future. One night after dinner, Mark asked to talk to her in the garden. "Ashley, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How do you see yourself in 5 years?" "What do you mean? Where do you want to be?" "What do you want to be doing?" Ashley thought. "I want to have finished college. I want to be teaching. I want to see Ethan grow up well. And I want..." "What?" "I want to have my own family." Mark smiled. "And can you see me in that family?" "I can. And you?" "More than I can. In fact..." Mark knelt in front of her. "Marry me, Ashley." She widened her eyes. "Mark, I know it's still early. I know you're still learning to trust me again, but I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving it." "Mark, You don't have to answer now. Think about it carefully." Ashley looked at him, kneeling there in the garden, his eyes full of hope. "Can I make some demands?" "As many as you want. First, you'll never again make a decision about our family without consulting me. Never. Second, my mother stays here. She's part of the package. Of course, I love your mum. Third, I'm going to continue studying and working. I don't want to be just a housewife. I support you in everything. And fourth, if you ever doubt me again, instead of sending me away, you'll come talk to me first. I promise." Ashley smiled. "Then okay, I accept marrying you." Mark got up and kissed her, spinning her in the air. "Seriously?" "Seriously, but no big wedding. I just want family and friends. Any way you want it." 6 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning, the mansion was decorated for a wedding. It was a simple ceremony with about 30 people. Ashley wore a simple white dress. She had chosen herself. She looked beautiful, with her hair down and small flowers adorning it. Ethan was nervous in his role as ring bearer. He had rehearsed all week and didn't want to forget anything. Ashley's mother was in the front row, emotional. Beside her, Robert, the hospital nurse, who had become a family friend. Some neighbors whispered about the marriage between the businessman and the former employee, but Mark and Ashley didn't care. They knew what they felt for each other. The officiant began the ceremony in the garden. "We are gathered here to celebrate the union of Mark Johnson and Ashley Green." Ethan couldn't sit still. He kept smiling at them both, proud. During the vows, Mark spoke first. "Ashley, you taught me that to love is to trust. You taught me that family isn't just blood, it's a choice. I promise to choose you every day, to trust you always, and to love you forever." Ashley wiped away tears before speaking. "Mark, you and Ethan gave me a home. You gave me a family. I promise to take care of this family, to protect this love, and to be your companion in everything that comes." When it was time to exchange rings, Ethan carefully handed over the jewelry. "Now you'll be together forever." "Forever," Mark replied. "And can I call Aunt Jess Mom?" Ashley knelt down to his height. "Yes, my son, you can call me Mom." "Mom!" Ethan shouted and threw himself into her arms. Everyone laughed and applauded. The officiant concluded, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Mark kissed Ashley while Ethan applauded. They were officially a family. 2 years after the wedding, on an ordinary morning, Ashley was driving the red sports car to take Ethan to school. She had already graduated with her education degree and was teaching at a nearby private school. "Mom, do you remember the day you drove this car to save me?" Ashley smiled, looking in the rearview mirror. "How could I forget? Was it important?" "It was the most important day of my life." "Why?" "It was when I discovered I loved you more than anything. And it was when I truly met your dad." Ethan, now 11, laughed. "And now we're a real family." "We always were, my love. It just took a while for everyone to realize it." Mark was in the passenger seat. They took turns taking Ethan to school since Ashley went back to work. "Honey, did you see that Patricia is going to trial next month?" "I did. Robert told me." "Do you feel anything?" Ashley thought. "I feel pity. She lost everything because she couldn't accept a no. Only pity and a little gratitude." Gratitude. If she hadn't done that crazy thing, maybe we would have stayed in that somewhat hidden passion. Maybe we would never have had the courage to admit what we felt. Or maybe I would have proposed to you anyway. Maybe. But now we'll never know. They arrived at the school. Ethan said goodbye to his parents with kisses. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. I love you." "We love you too." After Ethan went into school, Mark and Ashley stayed in the car for a moment, watching the other parents and children. "You know what's funny?" Mark said. "What?" "Before I thought this car was my most precious possession, and now it's just the car that takes my family where it needs to go." Ashley smiled and started the engine. "Then let's take this family home." The red sports car drove away down the street, carrying 2 adults who had learned that true love isn't about never facing problems, but about choosing to stay and fight when problems arise. And sometimes the most beautiful endings are the ones you achieve after almost losing everything. Did you like this story? Do you think the housekeeper did the right thing by taking the car to save the boy? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next story.